Ahoy, hoy, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the DCL show. I am your captain and host, Craig Williams, and today I am joined alongside by my co-captains, including Dreams Unlimited travel agent Elaine Edwards.
Hi, friends.
And DCLfan.com and DIS senior editor Jackie Gailey.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's show. As I've already said, we're going to try to help you navigate the waters of DCL. And this time, we're going to do it while talking about cruising with an infant. So I'm sorry, this is going to be a Craig-heavy episode, but we were able to take our son Rory on his first cruise back in December. And I know there's been a lot of questions about it. A lot of people want our take on it, and it's time. It's time to discuss it. But before we get to that, I want to remind you this is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel. If you like our content, you want to support us, book a vacation through Dreams Unlimited Travel. It costs you no extra money, and you get the support of an amazing Dreams Unlimited Travel agent. So head over to dreamsunlimitedtravel.com today for a free, no-obligation quote. And then this content is also brought to you by our Patreon supporters. If you want exclusive content from the DIS team you can't get anywhere else, head over to patreon.com/DISUnlimited for more information. And then finally, we are running out of time. This might be your last week that you can still sign up for the chance to win a Disney Cruise Line vacation. I mean, you're not just signing up. You have to pay money, but all proceeds will go towards Give Kids the World. It is the chance to win a 4-night Disney Cruise Line vacation, a veranda stateroom for 2 people sailing out of Port Canaveral in 2024. So for more details on that, again, all proceeds will go to Give Kids the World. But for more details on that, head to the link in our description, and you can see how you can win chances to get a very, very heavily discounted Disney Cruise Line vacation, especially if you're one of those lucky winners who only pays for one raffle entry, and all of a sudden you win. So you could have a $10 Disney Cruise Line vacation. Pretty neat. But anyways, let's get on to the purpose for this week's episode. Again, it is cruising on Disney Cruise Line with an infant, and I just had the chance to do that in December when we took our son Rory, and he had just sailed past the 1-year-old date at the time that we took him on his cruise. And with Disney Cruise Line, you can start sailing with your little ones as of 6 months old. And Kylie and I did consider it for a little bit there, and we're like, you know what, it would be great to get back on a cruise, especially now that it's been a while since we were able to cruise, and it might be a great way for our little family to relax. And then when the opportunity came to go right after he was 1 year old, like, absolutely, we have to take it. And it's going to be the most incredible, magical cruise that we could ever possibly take. And spoiler alert, it was not. And I'll go into the reasons here why I actually think that there is an age that is too young to sail any cruise line, especially Disney, unless you have a great support system, something that we definitely did not have. Because I want to make that clear up front. If grandparents would have been on the cruise with us, if my sister would have been on the cruise with us, and even friends, not just like work colleagues, if we would have had good friends with us, it could have easily been a lot more enjoyable. But at that 1-year-old phase, we were dealing with him waking up super early every single morning, wanting to go to sleep basically at 7:00. Sometimes before we were even leaving dinner, he was ready to pass out. As Jackie would say, and I hate saying this, so I feel like I need to repent for my sins after this, but there was no place for him to get the wiggles out besides just letting him crawl around the stateroom, which he just wanted to constantly hurt himself in. And then it's his favorite activity became crawling around the atrium nonstop as people were almost stepping on him, knocking him downstairs. Not because it's their fault, because he was getting in their way. We felt very trapped on that ship, with then also being like, okay, one person has to constantly be with him all the time, as is normal with it. And it got to the point where, like, it's really hard for us to enjoy a cruise like we used to. And it's very different when you go from always traveling as a couple without kids to then having a little one on the cruise. And I'll also preface this by saying we did not take advantage of Small World Nursery, really, because our mindset too was, we're here as a family. I want to be together as a family and do everything. And that was a bad choice. I'll throw that out there. So the only thing before I keep rambling on too much, I just wanted to throw the question out. Jackie and Elaine, you didn't ever sail with any of your kids while they were this young, right? It was always once they were older?
No, I think my youngest would have been like the youngest I sailed with one of my kids. I would say it was like 4 or 5, maybe.
Yeah. That sounds
so.
nice.
Yeah, we were never at the infant point. So.
Yeah,
I'm picturing his little head. I'm picturing the height of a 1-year-old, and how before your parents, you don't realize that their little 1-year-old noggin is right at the right level for almost every corner in a stateroom.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's tough. Disney does a great job of having a lot of round edges, a lot of soft spots.
Sure.
Luckily, the beds aren't, you have all the room under the bed for your luggage, but they're not so high that if you're playing on the bed and he rolls off, he did not roll off. I need to make that clear. We didn't let him roll off. He's rolled off a bed before, but not the Disney Cruise Line one. It's not that bad. But yeah, there's a lot of wood in those staterooms that you're like constantly like, you can't baby proof those rooms. There's just, you're not on there enough time for it. But I'm going to try to start at the beginning with this too and say, like, if you followed the DCL show prior to our sailing, where I promised I was going to talk about this once we got off, we ended up not getting Rory a passport before we left. I did not get my passport either in time. So we both just rocked our birth certificates. And honestly, we knew we weren't getting off at Nassau and we were praying there wasn't going to be an emergency, and it worked out for us. It was not stressful at all. So while it is recommended to have a passport for everyone, I'll say the experience we had with just birth certificates, it worked out for us. But I do understand the issues of if there is an emergency and you have to get off the ship and you have to get life flighted, you get left behind, any of those things. Yeah, it would definitely be easier with a passport. Just because we didn't have any problems doesn't mean there aren't other people out there who did. So decide what's best for your family and make smart decisions. Don't make Craig decisions. For the cruise arrival process of it, we went out of Port Everglades and Fort Lauderdale, but ultimately I feel like it doesn't necessarily change based on which port you're at. The only thing I'd say was we are used to having a lot of bags that we like to carry on, because I like to carry on my wine in my backpack before. And, you want to have the swimsuits and your essentials. And I had my camera, my laptop. I had a lot. And we definitely then, once we added on his diaper bag and everything we needed with him plus us, we had way too much crap with us when we went to get on the ship. So I know it's hard to say what is essential, but truly cut down to the essentials when you're getting on the ship. And, I will say the bigger the stroller you have, the more room you have for storage when you're getting on the ship with an infant. But at the same time too, you're not going to want a massive stroller unless you're lucky enough to be traveling in a suite. Do not bring a big stroller. Like, it's just going to take up so much room in those staterooms. And we did not have one. Our friend Allie gave us a very, very compact stroller that we were able to use. And there was pros and cons to that as well too. But, for stroller, I would say go on the small side, so that way you don't have to bump into that constantly in your stateroom. In terms of the room itself, make sure that if you're using a travel agent, like a Dreams Unlimited travel agent like Elaine, make sure they have that information. They know, they obviously booked it for you, that you're traveling with an infant. But we didn't use Dreams for this since it was a work cruise, and we didn't think about like coordinating with Disney, talking to them ahead of time, saying, hey, we need a pack and play or a crib for the room. And then we were in that stress period when we got there, and we're like, hey, we need one, because what's going to happen if with this cruise for 4 nights, if we don't have a pack and play or a crib in the room, how is he going to sleep? And luckily we were able to get one, no problems. I'm sure they have way more than they could ever possibly need, but at the same time too, if they get requested by everyone before and you're the last person without, then you're kind of stuck. And then for us, he hated the pack and play, could never get comfortable, and ended up sleeping with us every single night. So,
oh my goodness,
I know it was, and we were so strict up until even through once we put him in the crib, and never slept in a bed with us at all. And we were so particular about that because we're not starting that habit. And then right before the cruise, a couple weeks before, he got sick, and then we were traveling and he kept getting thrown off. We could not get him on a good schedule, and that's the only way we could comfort him. And man, those Disney Cruise Line beds are great, but not when you have a little body in between two adult bodies. So,
and then they always want to sleep horizontal too, don't they?
Yes. What is that?
The elbows are always be in your side, and
every time.
I definitely would crawl into my parents' bed from time to time. I don't ever remember sleeping horizontally though. And every time it happens, it's always that horizontal shift. I'm like, how is this even comfortable? What is
in
going
the world?
on here?
Every baby. It's terrible. I think there's a secret meeting.
All of mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. With every baby before they're born, they're like, this is what we're going to do, guys.
just the worst. But
every time.
So I mentioned we did not take advantage really of It's a Small World Nursery, but that is available for you if you are traveling with an infant. It's a Small World Nursery reservations obviously made on a first come first serve basis, and if you can get your reservations in there when you show up with open house on Embarkation Day anytime during the cruise, as long as it's still open. Like our cruise, they had open slots all the time, just basically asking you can bring them, but we didn't take advantage of it. There's a minimum reservation time of 1 hour, and the cancellation, if you have one booked and you want to cancel, has to be made 4 hours or more before, or you're going to get charged for your time. It's $9 per hour for the first child, and then $8 per hour for every additional child that you add on there too. Basically, when you go in to drop off your kid, you have to fill out, everything that they're allowed to eat, make sure that they have everything they need in their diaper bags, from changes of outfits, plenty of diapers, wipes, the whole 9 yards, any snacks that you might have for them. You go over all of that. So that way, when you drop them off, there's nothing you have to worry about. They get the C-band just like kids clubs. And, if you don't return it, you're stuck paying the bill for it at the end of the cruise. So definitely turn that in so you get your deposit back on there. But it's handled just like the kids clubs are, really, just you're paying for it. And he had no problem when we went and had Palo brunch. He had no problem in the kids club. But again, it was one of those things where I'm like, we came on this cruise, and granted, we didn't pay for it because Disney brought us on, but we were so excited to meet characters with them and just be together that we didn't take advantage of it, and it would have been a lot more helpful during those times, especially where I was in work mode and I wasn't helpful as a parent. And that was also part of the problem of it when I was there to cover the cruise and collect content. It was hard being in dad mode and then also having to work. So that's not a normal problem that people would usually have, but I would say when in doubt, consider the kids clubs. Yes, you're paying for it, but it is the Small World Nursery particularly. You're paying for it, but it's definitely a way that you can actually get a breather without stressing, and they will call you or send you a message through the app if there's really, really an issue that you need to go there for. The main struggle that we found, what was really hurting us, was with his age, where he had already started eating solids, but was in that phase where it was particular solids. Like we were giving him meat and steak and chicken. I know it's very weird, but it's just what he wanted to eat. So we started giving him that. But the food situation was just so tough. Like he didn't have enough teeth where he could start biting through a lot of foods. And Disney Cruise Line will put like on all their meals like steamed vegetables. I think they're steamed for like 6 seconds and they just have a hint of heat and you're basically eating raw vegetables. So almost the entire cruise, like we couldn't give him any vegetables because he couldn't chew through any of Disney's. And one thing that we learned on our final night of the cruise that's good to know if you're traveling with an infant is that Disney will puree vegetables for you if you request it. And they'll basically make baby food for you. That would have been really great for us to know that information ahead of time. We didn't. So yeah, we basically were giving our baby proteins and carbs the entire time because he could not chew through any vegetables. Even like we ordered a soup for him one night as room service, and like surely the broth would have softened the vegetables. But I swear, I think when you order chicken soup through room service, they take the broth, they drop in old noodles and then raw vegetables and send it to the room. And that's how it's made. It's like, it's not sitting there simmering for hours, reaching perfection. So we really struggled with that. I mean, just variety in general. It got to the point where we felt like terrible parents just giving a 1-year-old mac and cheese all the time and, chicken tenders. But it's like, that's what we had to give him
But that's the same with every kid on vacation. I mean, my kids are picky eaters. Some of them are picky eaters, and it's just, there are times where one of them particularly will eat chicken tenders and fries every day of vacation. It's just what it is. So don't go too hard on yourself. It's just a few days.
Yeah, and that's where we we're like, it's fine. And, we would have brought more snacks, and like we have our, all our favorite foods for him at home that we have for him that we could have easily brought. And we brought some, but we just didn't bring enough. And that would have solved a lot of issues too if we would have prepared a little bit more of those baby food items and in that way. But we know we don't have to worry about next time because now he's basically, we have to order off adult menus for him already, which is, I know. It's just, he doesn't like a lot of kids food items that have on like kids menus anyways. So keep it going. Just keep it going. And that is the most fantastic thing you can do. And that's where we did have some success on the cruise line was like in the restaurants, while he wasn't eating adult entrees really at that time because of too many crazy ingredients and such, the soups were a big savior, like being able to eat all of the soups made in there. Those were much better than the room service chicken noodle, but he had no problem eating French onion soup and some of the softer ones, some of the cream-based soups that they have up there. So like that was a huge deal for us. But in general, dinners were hard because the first night they tried to go like Disney Cruise Line slow with us. And we're like, we had early seating. I can't imagine people taking an infant on second seating. Each family is their own. Maybe if you're coming from the West Coast and you're keeping your normal time, that's great. But for us, East Coast time, like sitting down, we tried to be at the table at 5:00, even when the restaurant opened at 5:15. And like, we need to like speed this up because that first night when they tried to take dinner to an hour and a half, hour 45, we're like, he can't sit here this long. And so the buffet was a much more enjoyable experience. But by the final night of dinner, final 2 nights of dinner, they had it down where they're like, we'll get you in and out of here in like 45 minutes to an hour. It's like, beautiful. That's Disney Cruise Line service. When they see, they understand, and they start adjusting to it. And we were really able to get over that. But yeah, his diet was not great. For the Wiggles, again, Jackie, had to call you out on that. 2 things. One thing I wish I would have known. I've always known about the open houses, take advantage of them with the kids clubs. I didn't realize that they, at least on the Disney Dream for our cruise, they had, I think it was each morning of the cruise at like 9:00, and then sometime later in the cruise, they would section off only the Toy Story section for infants to crawl around on. And we didn't find that out until we found that out on the 3rd day of the sailing. And then on the 4th day, we're like, we got to take advantage of that. We weren't able to though, because the kids club time conflicted with our Palo brunch. But that's something I wish I would have known, because that Toy Story section, there's not really a lot they can hurt themselves on, little small things to crawl up on. And I walked past to see how it was, and there's some older kids that were in there with their little brothers and sisters, but for the most part, it was the little ones that really have nowhere else, and they were able to just crawl around. And dang, I wish I would have known that, because
he needed that. Sure.
He needed that badly. If he would have been able to crawl around like that, I think we could have solved multiple tantrums and moments of like, okay, forced nap time, because we got to get this out of you. It would have been so much more helpful.
Because they get wiggly just like we do, but they don't know how to. Like, we can sit for 2 hours. We might get a little stir crazy, but we know how to handle that. Where somebody his age, little ones don't know what to do.
Nope.
And so they don't know what to do with their frustrations. They don't have any words yet, so they can't tell anybody why they're, they need that, because they just don't know what else to do with themselves. And so they get all discombobulated.
Exactly. And I'll say the one thing that I don't regret with it too is I thought he was going to be on the young side for like the shows. We didn't take him to the inside shows, but like, top deck shows. And he was already at the point, and he's still not walking right now, but he walks if you hold his hand, and he is kind of like right there during the cruise. So like we would stand him up and he would be bouncing and dancing to the music. So like that was perfect. Meeting the characters, he just had the time of the life. So when that stuff was happening, it was perfect. It was worth every single bit of aggravation, but that also, you have to time that stuff really well, and it doesn't always work out. There was one night he got overstimulated, got back to the room, was a nightmare, and we realized at that point we're in for the rest of the night. A couple times for work I had to go back out, and I'd go sit at 687 and do some editing and do some work. But there was one night I'm like, I'll sit in the room with a glass of wine. It's going to be great. Went to the restroom, came back after hearing Kylie scream, and there was red wine flung all over the divider in the room. And so housekeeping was in there with his miracle concoction of chlorine and other mixtures, scrubbing it and getting all the wine off, so that way we're not stressed about, do we have to pay for a new curtain divider in the room?
Right.
And it's like, I'm so happy you called me so fast. It didn't have time to dry, so I can fix this. And I was like, thank you.
Good. That's just, you know what, Craig? That is good info.
Yeah, white wine for the room. No red wine.
But call while it's still wet.
Yes.
Don't sit there fret and stew for 2 hours about, oh my God.
And try to use your towels from the bathroom.
I did that. Call. So that's why I called, because I went up to top deck. We were on deck 10, so I was like one floor up, get as much soda water as possible, start dabbing, like it was a shirt, and it's like, this will work, and it did not work at all. I'm like, we just got to call. I don't know how much this costs, but if it's $200 or $300, I want to know now. So we have one day of me being mad about it versus finding that bill at the end, like, oh, replacement $500. So, he got it all out. It was incredible. So, but that's
amazing.
Again, if he had more opportunities to get that stress out and crawl around, then it could have been better. But we overstimulated him. We didn't give him enough exercise opportunities, and it didn't pay off well. And the final thing I'll say with this that we looked forward to was the Jack Diaper Dash. And it is so incredibly cute. I've never actually watched it before, but we entered him in. The way he crawled around that atrium normally, we're like, he's going to win this, no problem. We were hoping he would go up against one of one of the people who works at Disney that I work with through public relations. We were hoping that our sons would go up together and we could have the ultimate challenge. And it is such a cute event, but ultimately Rory failed because everyone starts screaming and yelling in the atrium. And so in every single race, there would only be one kid who could like zone it out and keep going. The rest of the kids would just sit and cry or not move at all.
Oh.
And
Why is everybody yelling?
he started off so fast, and I was at the start, Kylie was at the finish, and he took like 3 or 4 big fast crawls ahead of everyone else, sat there and just started bawling. Like, no. But everyone who participates gets a cute little bib that says Jack Jack's Diaper Dash on it. So highly recommend. Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah. And the only other advice
memento.
I'll give. Yeah. Oh no, it was so cute. So cute to have. We'll never get rid of it. The only other thing I'd recommend too, we were, as always, painfully unprepared with stuff, and like with Castaway, we're like, okay, well, our baby doesn't know how to swim and we want to take him in the ocean. We didn't bring any floaters, anything like that. So we just had to be very careful, didn't take him in too deep, and, had every sun protection we needed, more sunscreen than possible, more hats, the SPF shirts, we had it all. We just had to be very diligent about anytime people were splashing, waves, not dropping them. So that would have been nice to also think of too, some sort of infant floater. So, this has more or less been me saying all the mistakes that we made and why he was too young for it than anything. I don't think a lot of these things would have saved it. Ultimately, it's just we were up every morning at 5 a.m. with him, and then he wanted to go to bed at 7:30. And, the cruise ship really doesn't come alive till 9 o'clock, and, minus breakfast in the morning. And, it's really kind of goes on till 10. So I felt like for the first time ever, I understood why, I'm always complaining about the adult district being really boring after 11 o'clock. And I finally get it. It's because people with kids are asleep and preparing for the next day. And it just never got it before. And now I totally get it. So I think 1 was too young. We even said at 18 months, that would have been better. Maybe 2. But then there's that gap where I'm I don't know if after he hits 2, I don't know if I'd want to go until he was 3 and could actually get into those kids clubs. So I think there's a fine line with traveling with an infant. Decide what's best for your family. In my opinion, there is a too early. And then, you don't at some point the kid's going to outgrow the nursery, want to be more active, want to play around. And if they're not old enough for those kids clubs, I think you're just going to be miserable, feeling like you can't ever get a break the entire time. So decide what's best for your family. It's not so that you shouldn't do it at all. Just if you have help too, that would go a long way. That's just my advice. Bring the grandparents, bring someone else, bring friends. And, then at least you can have that breather every now and then. But I'm happy we did it. We'll either do another one very soon, or it won't be again until he's 3. One or the other. We'll leave him at home, and we'll go back to being adults on Disney cruises, because that's always a plus.
Yeah. There you go. That's what you need.
Well, Elaine and Jackie, thank you for sitting through my therapy session here of DCL with kids. I appreciate you listening to me.
If you don't mind, I took some notes of everything you did wrong, and I have a few rapid fire. I'll just very fast just
do it
for people that can help them. So, as Craig said, for the most part, kids do need to be over 6 months old. However, there are some crews that they have to be a year old. Anything that's a transatlantic, Panama Canal, some of those longer cruises, they do have to be over a year old. So make sure you check for your cruise. Also, make sure that, there are times that you're booking this cruise maybe 18 months out, and you may not even be pregnant at that time. And then you get pregnant and have a kid in between the time that you booked the cruise and that you actually sailed. Make sure that you please tell your travel agent that. Please tell them as far in advance as you can, at least that you're pregnant. That would be a fantastic thing for your travel agent to know. You would not believe the number of times I have no idea that my clients are pregnant. Extra passenger has arrived that I didn't even know about. So that is very important. And, the other thing that I would say is, if you don't mind, I just want to say, I think, Craig, that you did a fantastic job. I think you did a fantastic job. And, I think that that is very important. And Tell your agent. Yes. Okay. So getting the wiggles out, I was going to exactly say Andy's room in the Oceaneers lab. That is a fantastic place. I was going to say the diaper dash. Fantastic. So you found those. Those are great. Things that you are taking on board. There are a few items that are restricted that you would think maybe I could take this on board that you would use in your everyday life. Bottle warmers, cannot take it on board. Blenders, a lot of people will have those little mini blenders and they will make their own baby food. Cannot take that on board. Even extension cords, cannot take that on board. So, however, you can request things in advance. You can request a pack and play in advance. You can request bed rails in advance, even if you have somebody that's maybe out of a pack and play but can't quite stay on the bed. You can get bed rails. You can request a diaper genie for the room. And there are even a few approved bottle warmers that are available to request on board from guest services as well. So that is something, all of that can be done in advance. Let's see what else here. Passports. So Craig said he didn't get a passport. Just remember that whether you choose to use a passport or you choose to use a birth certificate, the child still needs identification. There are a lot of people that just assume that because they're under 2, maybe they don't need identification. They need the identification. And if you are particularly, and they need the same identification that you have. So if a passport is required for your cruise, a passport is required for your child. So please just make sure that you work ahead to get that. Don't wait for the last minute. Processing times take a long time. Additionally, if you are traveling as the only parent of that child and the other parent is not on the cruise with you for whatever reason, you will want to make sure that you have proper documentation of that. They don't always ask, but sometimes they do ask. So you just want to have, I just tell all of my parents that are not traveling with the other parent, make sure that you have a notarized letter for the other parent's signature if you can get it. If it's a court-ordered situation, bring that with you, that it says that you are allowed to take the child out of the country. Just be safe and bring it with you. Like I said, they don't always ask, but there are times that they do ask.
Your batubi.
Yeah. So let's see what else. When you're getting on board, remember, you may not be able to get into your stateroom till 1:30, 2 o'clock. Plan that into your arrival. Make sure that you have everything that you are carrying on with you is enough to suffice getting until that 2 o'clock time. So don't put the entire pack of diapers in your checked luggage that is just going to go straight to the room. Make sure you keep a few with you. Make sure that you keep snacks. Make sure that you keep a bottle or two. Make sure you've got some of that stuff with you. If your child is a hard and fast at 12:30 every single day they take a nap, consider that when you're thinking about what time you're going to get to the port. You know, you have to really think about your child's schedule. If you can keep your child on their schedule as close as possible while you're on vacation, it's going to help you a lot. Consider taking a shorter cruise, not necessarily a longer cruise. Don't go for that 7-night with that baby. Try the little 3 nights. Let's see how they do. Then we can work up to the longer ones. Remember, if they have any allergies, just like yourself, you want to let your travel agent know so we can let the dining team know in advance, as well as that very first night. Make sure you communicate with your dining team any allergies that baby has as well. And if you're going to take other people with you, like if you do decide to take grandparents with you to help you out, get connecting rooms. It's a fantastic way that you can have that door in the middle open. You can even put the crib in one room while baby takes a nap or goes to bed for the night. Everybody else can be in the other room and still can enjoy, having that glass of white only wine or, watching TV or sitting out on the balcony or whatever. So, that is a whole pile of rapid fire.
I love it.
So
No, that was fantastic. That's like the equivalent of the too long didn't read. That was the too long didn't watch or listen. And then you just explained everything much more succinctly than I did. That's more generalized versus my personal failings. So I really do appreciate you recapping everything, Elaine, and throwing in some good tidbits there. Like I'll be honest, I wish I would have known about the diaper genie too, because let's be real. The stateroom attendants come in so often throughout the day. It never got bad, but if you have an infant, there's nothing worse than once they start eating that real food and you give them something they haven't had before, and it just is. There's nothing grosser than that smell coming from that diaper. The diaper genies, those are magical. I wish every hotel you could request it, because we ran into that problem during our last Disneyland trip. We're like, man, this Disneyland food is not sitting well with him. We wish that we had something so that way everyone who came into our room didn't have to smell the outcome of an infant's Disneyland experience. So very, very good information. Thank you so much. Yeah. And thank you everyone out there for taking the time to listen and watch this. I hope we helped you, maybe plan a little bit better for your next Disney Cruise Line vacation, or one in the future with a younger kid in and part of it. But if you did enjoy this and you want to support us more, book a vacation through Dreams Unlimited Travel. Get a free no obligation quote today at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. You can always support us by becoming a Patreon member, and you can get more information on that at patreon.com/disunlimited. If you were watching this on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up, leave comments, questions, video suggestions in the comments section. And if you are listening to this, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us ratings and reviews when possible. I forgot to say thank you, but again, Elaine and Jackie, thank you so much for having this conversation with me today.
Thank you. It was a fun
Glad to be here.
Yes, and thank you everyone at home for listening and watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope it helps you plan the best Disney Cruise Line vacation ever. But that's going to do it for this week's DCL show. We will see you again real soon next time we set sail with the DCL show. But remember, you can't get to Castaway Cay without Disney Cruise Line.